Welcome to Westview Word of the Week. I'm Pastor Brian, and I have something I want to share with you. This is from Psalms chapter 42. It says this: I thirst for God, the living God. When can I come and stand before Him? There was a time way back in the olden days, I was a teenager, believe it or not, and I was at youth camp, and the day away was Turkey Run canoe trip. So they loaded up the entire camp and they took us on this canoe trip, and it lasted forever. And this was back when camp was in the middle of the summer, so it was super hot, super sweaty, super long, and we were totally unprepared for it. They loaded us up in buses, and they didn't tell us we were going canoeing until we're on the bus. And they're like, oh, by the way, we want you to partner up and we're going to go on this canoe trip. So none of us had water, none of us were prepared, and we thought, 2 hours, half hour, whatever, it's not going to be long. It was well over 4 hours because the majority of the camp didn't know how to canoe. So most of the kids floated down the river doing this number until they got stuck into the trees. And then, so I was kind of an experienced canoer, and one of my counselors said, you kind of hang back and help everybody along the way. So Jay and I were in a canoe together, and we're canoeing and helping people get out of the woods or out of the brush and all that sort of stuff. And it just was forever. And we baked in the sun, and it was hot, and it was horrible, and we didn't have any water. And by the time the canoe trip was over, we were way in the back, and all the other canoers had kind of already made it to shore and made it to the area, and they all got something to drink. By the time we got there, all the good stuff was gone. So there was no Mountain Dew anywhere to be found. And the only thing that we had reached down into the barrel, and it was ice cold, and we pulled out, both Jay and I, pulled out a Sprite. We popped those things open and drank it, and I tell you, I have never had a better soda in my life. And I thought about that story as I read this scripture. I was thirsty by the time that canoe trip was over. And this section of scripture is telling me that I need to thirst for God in that same way. I'm in my 50s. This canoe trip happened when I was a teenager, and I remember the way that soda tasted. It was fantastic. And I was a bit challenged about how I pursue God. Do I thirst for God the way that I thirsted for that soda way back in the day? I was challenged by it, and I hope that this moment, this word of the week, challenges you to also think about your relationship with God. And do you thirst for God? Do you really thirst for God? Something to think about. Hope to see you Sunday. Thanks for joining us. We love you guys.